And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Roster Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV here on livinginblack.com. My name is Keedy Owado, aka the Conscious Roster. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific Time. That's 12 noon Eastern Time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East African Time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Wednesday. It is the 5th of March, 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we realign our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place on LIB Radio, LIB TV, on livinginblack.com. Welcome to the 7th millennium. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world. Today we are going to revisit and continue our ongoing discussion we call Growing Nigeria. Here's what we have on the table for today. Nigeria is the big brother nation to the world's 1.78 billion Pan-African community, with the largest population and economy of the African Union's 55 nations. The Naira economy carries a lot of weight for sovereign and sustainable development for the 21st century and beyond. Nigeria's brain power is renowned around the world. Today, we look closer at investment opportunities across the nation's agroeconomic frontiers. There is great reason to get excited. There is great reason for us to get excited. And first of all, off the top of the bat, it looks like I have a good sized classroom lining up for today's discussion. Make sure everybody, during the course of the program, hit the like button. It's an honor. It is absolutely an honor and a pleasure for me to be with you, to be the leader of this pack. And we are undeniably a distinguished people. And we can be proud of who we are. And I am very proud of our focus. This is our 23rd year of broadcasting here on LAB Radio, and I have done my best, and I think many of you would agree, to make this the most Pan-African of all of the webcasts. There are some great ones. I know, because many of you send me links. Check out this program. Check out this broadcaster. Check out this health advocate. There are some great ones. So recognizing that there are great ones, it is no shame for us to strive to want to take it to the highest level of development. I'm going to go right into the notes that I've assembled for today. There is quite a bit for us to catch up on, and we're going to do just that. Catch up on who we are, what we are here to do, and who we are doing this with. And to those of you, we welcome you on our Rumble broadcast, which is our main broadcasting stream. We welcome you on younow.com. On the TuneIn app, we are LIB Radio. On Facebook Live Video. And today we are streaming also on YouTube as Keedy Owado. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Let's go into the research. I've got quite a bit on the table today. I'm actually putting together this book called Growing Nigeria 2025 to 2030. Let's begin with agroeconomic development in Nigeria, and to a great extent this extends to West Africa. Here are 15 keys to the future expansion and sovereign development of agroeconomics in Nigeria. So, number one of our 15 keys, and it's probably more than 15 keys. I think I did this inquiry and then combined the results and then added some that I knew off of the top of my head. And these are in alphabetical order. Investment in infrastructure, developing rural infrastructure, including roads, storage facilities, and irrigation systems to enhance agricultural productivity and market access. And that's one of the keys that is happening across the continent that we've been pointing to quite a bit to allow us to relate to the dialogue surrounding Africa Rising. And as some of you know, I recently upgraded the ideas in Africa Rising, and now we're talking about the African future. So that's the new book. And I want to thank you, Sister Kazaya, if you are listening out there today. I put together a 5-book bundle of 5 brand new books. In December, I came out with 2 books. At the beginning of February, a 3rd book. And this week, 2 new books completed and in the marketplace. So 5 new book bundle. This is cutting edge. This is state-of-the-art research. You know what I do. If you listen to this show, you know what I do. This is state-of-the-art research. So the 5-book bundle includes Living Superfood Solutions, Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6, The Stem Cell Revolution, The African Future, and Quantum Advancement. Trust me. You're going to have to trust me at a certain point. Get the 5-book bundle with a 25% discount. You will not only get a good collection of my new books, numbers 53 through 57, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but you will also get state-of-the-art Pan-African cutting-edge research to serve an emerging leadership. I consider you to be an emerging leadership. You're the one I write the books for. So let's go into Growing Nigeria. Keys, 15 keys to the future expansion and sovereign development. Number 1, we went through 1. Next on the list, now I have these in alphabetical order. That first one was out of order, but I had to move it. Access to finance. Providing farmers with access to affordable credit and financial services to support investment in modern farming techniques and equipment. And don't you know that financing is amongst the first steps of the 10-point food value chain? Financing the farmers to put in this year's crop. So that's very key and critical. Access to finance. Point 2, climate resilience. Developing strategies to mitigate the impacts of climate change on agriculture, including drought-resistant crops and sustainable water management practices. Now, everything I'm talking about, these 15 keys, is going to be a chapter in the book, Growing Nigeria. All of these are very important. Point 3, cooperative farming, co-ops. Co-ops encourage the formation of communities to enhance collective bargaining power, to share resources, and reduce the cost for smallholder farmers. I mean, with co-ops, you have things like shared heavy equipment, tractors and tillers and harvesters. All of these require significant investment, for which for much of the year the equipment sits and has to be maintained. Well, through co-ops, the equipment is in work. The cost of sharing the equipment is split. Plus, with co-op, you can also utilize cooperative labor So co-ops are a good thing, no doubt. Next point, data and analytics. Utilizing data analytics to inform decision making, to improve agricultural practices, and enhance food supply chain efficiency. Yes, nowadays, modern agriculture does definitely include farmers' natural wisdom and intuition and learned practices, but it also includes, to a great extent, contributions from younger farmers who bring in data management and analytics. Next point, diversification. Promoting crop and livestock diversification to reduce dependency on a few commodities and to enhance food security. Because of unpredictables such as pests, plagues, or pest outbreaks, you could have climate-related issues such as drought and or flooding. Because of these things, diversification is great. We have learned extensively from Dr. George Washington Carver, who taught crop rotation. That's diversity, diversification. Very, very important. Next, education and training. Implementing training programs for farmers on modern agricultural practices, sustainable farming, and business management. All of this will improve productivity. Education is a must. And that's one area where Africa is transforming very rapidly. There's still so much more room to grow. Education infrastructure. Africa again is the youngest continent. These are the youngest nations in the world. The fastest growing populations, the highest demographic dividend. So all of these beautiful young human beings coming into the world through African ancestry have got to have the absolute best education that we would commit to as a global people of 1.783 billion on this planet. Investment in infrastructure. No, I skipped one. Food processing and value addition. This is the food value chain that I was talking about earlier. Investing in food processing facilities to add value to raw agricultural products, to create jobs and reduce post-harvest losses. See, when we talk about food processing, we need to develop food processing at the local level or the rural level where the food is grown. Some of that processing, such as juicing, dehydration, canning, jarring, some of that food processing can be done locally. It will enhance the preservation of the food. We'll stop seeing so much harvest loss, as well as create jobs in those rural communities, which will hold back the tide of urbanization, where so many young people are leaving these places where the food is growing, where agriculture is dominant, leaving those areas and crowding into sometimes already overcrowded cities. So we have a whole spectrum of viable investments and keys and solutions to making this growing Nigeria 2025 to 2030 program work. Next, investment in infrastructure to develop roads, storage facilities, and irrigation to boost productivity and market access. Investment in infrastructure includes, I'm sorry, I ran this twice and I combined the two, but it's the exact same. So let me just delete the first one because the second one is just a little bit longer. Investment in infrastructure, very, very important. And this infrastructure also includes education infrastructure. So co-ops, farm facilities, organic mechanisms for producing organic crops and certification, all of those are infrastructure. Next point, market access. Creating better access to local and international markets for agricultural products through improved logistics and trade agreements and organic and also quality certification. That would be part of logistics. Improve logistics quality certification, such as if we're going organic, we got to get them certified organic. So, going forward, organic farming, the next one on the list. Organic agriculture can boost Nigeria's agroeconomics by enhancing food security, increasing farmer incomes, and promoting sustainable practices. Certification ensures quality, opening up premium markets and attracting higher prices and higher profits. Higher prices while sustaining higher profits when using low cost local labor. And Africa has an abundance of low cost, high quality labor. Policy support. Establishing supportive government policies that promote agricultural development, including subsidies, tax incentives, and favorable trade policies. Public-private partnerships. Fostering partnerships between the government, private sector, and non-governmental organizations to leverage resources and expertise for agricultural development. This model has worked miraculously to reverse China's historic poverty and generate tremendous wealth. If it worked for China, it will work for Nigeria. Public-private partnerships. Research and development. This is where I fit in. Research and development, promoting agricultural research and innovation to develop high yield and disease-resistant crop varieties suited to Nigeria's diverse climates, and to also to regenerate the soil's quality by building a healthy soil microbiome. That's a key point that I make in my book, The Blackest Soil. Africa Can Feed the World. The quality of the blackness of the soil indicates the integrity of the microbiome. And the reason I am writing this book is because that book, The Blackest Soil, Africa Can Feed the World, got in the hands of a Nigerian brother whose strategic plan is to acquire 100,000 hectares of land. A hectare is 2.74 acres. So we're talking about acquiring land to the tune of 274,000 acres of land in Nigeria. That's why I'm writing this book, specifically for that project. That's what we do. We get real specific, and then to the best of our abilities, we get out into the field and we take on the critical work, no doubt. Research and development. Sustainable practices. Promoting sustainable agricultural practices that protect the environment enhance soil health, and ensure long-term productivity through the development of permaculture, which is integrated natural flora environment. Very important, this idea of permaculture. Technology adoption, encouraging the use of technology such as precision agriculture, drones, mobile apps for market information, and digital platforms for supply chain management. And I would say additionally, blockchain will enhance transnational trade. We're talking about the African Continental AFCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, always stays readily in our mind as we are imagining out and putting together these new systems. Anybody in the house want to say greetings today? I'm looking at the chats. I'm not seeing anything there. Let me go to, we do have a YouTube feed is open today. Would love to hear from you. What do you think about today's discussion? Love to hear what you have to say. Talk to me. Don't be shy. And make sure everybody out there, please do take just a moment and hit the like button. Lets the algorithm know that these dialogues are appreciated, but it also lets me know that you consider yourself to be a partner and not just passively sitting by. See, I can't tell unless you speak to me. I can't tell if you're friend or foe. I know as a fact there are people who listen to my show on a regular basis who despise what I do. They're looking for me to slip up and say something so I can be banished. Well, they're there. But are you the friends? Are you the collaborators? Are you the partners in this sustainable and sovereign development? Are you with your brother? Are you with us or are you against us? Inquiring minds need to know. We're continuing today. We're talking about growing Nigeria, 15 keys to future sovereign agroeconomic development. We are still on these keys. Youth engagement, encouraging youth participation in agriculture through training, access to land, and entrepreneurship opportunities to ensure the sector's future sustainability. These keys can help drive the growth and sustainability of agroeconomics in Nigeria, contributing to food security, economic development, and improve livelihoods for farmers and communities. Nigeria's agricultural potential is immense, and these strategies could greatly enhance the sector's development and sustainability. So let's go further. I have so many different documents that I pulled together for today's conversation. I pulled up a bunch of photographs and things. If you want, we could take a little photographic tour of what agriculture in Nigeria is shaping up to look like. I can assure you this much. It certainly is encouraging me to want to go and participate beyond a shadow of a doubt. Agriculture in Nigeria, or went to Wikipedia, which had an extensive coverage of agriculture in Nigeria, from which I will share the following. They talked about agriculture is a major sector of the Nigerian economy, accounting for up to 35% of total employment in 2020. According to the Food and Agricultural Association or Organization, FAO, agriculture remains the foundation of the Nigerian economy, providing livelihood for most Nigerians and generating millions of jobs. Along with crude oil, Nigeria relies on the agricultural products it exports to generate most of its national revenue. The agricultural sector in Nigeria comprises 4 subsectors: crop production, livestock, forestry, and fishing. Crop production, livestock, forestry, and fishing. Nigeria has a total agricultural area of 70.8 million hectares. 70.8, that's agricultural, that's arable land. 70.8 million hectares. That's pretty substantial, but in the book, The Blackest Soil, I revealed that the African continent has 2.160 billion acres of arable land. It's 874 million acres or hectares, 874 million hectares of arable land. That's a lot of land. So Nigeria, out of 874 billion hectares, million hectares, not billion. Nigerian has 70.8 million hectares. And so our associates' plan for acquiring 100,000 hectares of land, now put that into context. That's only 1/708th of Nigeria's available farmland. 708 times that amount could be acquired. Nigeria has a total agricultural area of 70.8 million hectares, of which 34 million hectares are arable land. 6.5 million hectares are used for permanent crops, and 30.3 million hectares are meadows and pastures. Maize, cassava, Guinea corn, groundnut, which are peanuts, and yam are the major crops farmed in Nigeria, with 70% of the households engaged in crop farming. In the South, 7.3% of the households practice fishing, while 69.3% of the households own or raise livestock in Northwest Nigeria. In the third quarter of 2019, before the pandemic, the sector grew by 14.88% year-on-year crop. 14.88%. That's a huge, huge growth year-on-year in agroeconomics. Crop production remains the largest part of the sector. During the third quarter of 2019, the agricultural sector contributed 29.25% to the overall real GDP. Between January and March 2021, agricultural contributed 22.35% of the total gross domestic product. This sector is undergoing rapid transformation through commercialization at the small, medium, and large enterprise levels. However, there are several factors in the Nigerian agricultural sector that may be preventing its growth, including a land tenure system that limits access to land. And I'm not going to be critical of indigenous land tenure systems. They have been built upon centuries, if not millennia, of local relationships, ethnic, cultural values. So when we see these international reports that say that may be limiting the agricultural growth, agroeconomic growth of the nation, that's probably from the perspective of outsiders who want to get in and get a big slice of that magnificent African cake. So we have to recognize indigenous land tenure systems can protect the land from being absconded by internationalists, corporations, Arabs, Chinese, Indians, Europeans, other Europeans. So we do have to protect this land. Do you agree? The couple of points, however, several factors in Nigerian agriculture that may prevent its growth, including a land tenure system that limits access to land, the country's level of irrigation development, limited adoption of research findings and technologies, the cost of farm inputs, the amount of access to credit allowed by the management of specialized institutions established for the development of the agricultural sector, the manners of fertilizer procurement and distribution, storage facility effectiveness, and the amount of access to markets. All of those need to be taken care of. I'm going to just put bullet points on those. And copy that. Just 1 second. This is very important because each of those becomes a sub-chapter. Because really, my books have got to be about not just articulating the problems. No. We have to put viable pathways to solutions. And we can't put the viable solutions in if we don't have clear descriptions, in-depth descriptions of what the challenge is ahead of us. Does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense. So going forward, more recently, changes in average temperatures, rainfall, climate extremes, and the growing infestation of pests and related diseases precipitated by climate change pose a challenge to the integrity of Nigeria's agricultural system. This is coupled with a dependence on rain-fed agriculture, which has made the sector vulnerable to seasonal conditions, rain-fed as opposed to infrastructure for irrigation. Very important points. These all contribute to agricultural productivity and post-harvest losses and waste in Nigeria. Illiteracy is also one of several factors preventing the progress and development of agriculture in Nigeria. Research has proven that most of the farmers in Nigeria have not acquired formal education. Let's talk a little bit further about this idea of harvest loss. In the book, The Black is Soil, Africa Can Feed the World, I pointed out FAO data that said as much as 37% of Africa's crop harvests spoil before getting to market. As much as 33%, I think it was. And at that time, this resulted in about $100 billion a year for the African continent of food spoilage before getting to market. $100 billion out of a $337 billion economy, agricultural economy for Africa in 2015. And I proposed back as early as 2015 when this problem first came to my attention and I talked about it on LIB radio. I proposed that significant investment in infrastructures such as dehydration. I even invented a solar dehydrator. Yeah, my own design. I didn't invent the idea of a solar dehydrator. I just invented my own model, and it turned out to work pretty well. Things like juicing facilities. At the time, I started inquiring where can we get juicers that could be distributed out to these rural areas so that they would not be spoiled fruits and vegetables. They would be juiced. And then, of course, bottling them or jarring them would be the natural stage to follow. I found juicers available for sale in places like India and China, 55-gallon-a-day juicer for $2,500. I went through a research project like this in August 2014 after having returned from Kenya, where a proposed partnership with a political family there should have generated action. My problem is, and I recognize this problem is persistent, when I come back to America and talk amongst Black Americans, Afro-Americans, there's no interest. They're not interested in investing. They want to invest in cryptocurrency, do no work, nothing really innovative there, and become Bitcoin millionaires or billionaires. But something with intrinsic value like feeding growing populations does not seem to generate much interest at all, even amongst the African American farm organizations. I've talked to them, I've stepped to them and talked to them, but been rather disappointed. I do see Ed is in the house. Greetings to the LIB family. Ed, I know you know what we're talking about today. We're talking about growing Nigeria, 15 keys to future sovereign agroeconomic development. And I've been doing a lot of research this morning, Ed, quite a bit. I'm trying to get through as much of this as I possibly can. I copied much of that to this one document, which generally gets edited, and then inserted into the book and edited much more. Harvest losses. This is very important. Harvest losses. Again, in 2015, of a $370 billion African agroeconomics, 30% of that was being lost to spoilage, harvest losses. That amounted to approximately $100 billion. Harvest losses. Post-harvest losses of vegetables and fruits occur at all points in the food value chain, from production in the field to the food being placed on a plate for consumption. Post-harvest activities include harvesting, handling, aggregation, storage, processing, packaging, transportation, and marketing. Losses of horticultural produce are a major problem in the post-harvest chain. They can be caused by a wide variety of factors, ranging from growing conditions to handling at retail level. Not only are losses clearly a waste of food, but they also represent a similar waste of human effort, farm inputs, livelihoods, investments, and scarce resources such as water. Post-harvest losses for horticultural products are however difficult to measure. In some cases, everything harvested by a farmer may end up being sold to consumers. In others, losses or waste may be considerable. Occasionally, losses may be 100%. For example, when there is a price collapse and it would cost the farmer more to harvest and market the produce than to plow it back into the ground. Use of average loss figures is thus often misleading. There can be losses in quality as measured both by price obtained and the nutritional value, as well as in quantity. Very, very important points being made. They talk about grains. Grains may be lost in the pre-harvest, harvest, and post-harvest stages. Pre-harvest losses occur before the process of harvesting begins and may be due to insects, weeds, and rusts. And we're talking about plant rusts, which are like a fungus growing on plants that makes them very unattractive. Harvest losses occur between the beginning and completion of harvesting and are primarily caused by losses due to shattering. Post-harvest losses occur between harvest and the moment of human consumption. They include on-farm losses, such as when grain is threshed, winnowed, and dried. Other on-farm losses include inadequate harvesting time, climatic conditions, practices applied at harvest and handling, and challenges in marketing produce. Significant losses are caused by inadequate storage conditions, as well as decisions made at earlier stages of the supply chain, including transportation, storage, and processing, which predispose products to a shorter shelf life. It's important. In many developing countries, particularly across Africa, are on-farm losses during storage, when the grain is being stored for auto consumption or while the farmers await a selling opportunity or a rise in prices. Auto consumption meaning for the farmer consuming their own crops, or while they're waiting a chance to sell their crop and a rise in prices, they have to store it. And with inadequate infrastructure, the storage facilities leave a lot to be desired. Fishing. In 2011, the Food and Agricultural Association estimated that up to 35% of global fisheries and aquaculture production is either lost or wasted every year. According to the FAO, the State of the Food and Agriculture 2019 study, globally in 2016, around 14% of the world's food is lost from production before reaching the retail level. Generally, levels of loss are higher for fruits and vegetables than for cereals and pulses. And pulses include things like beans and lentils and seed crops. Or cereals are seed crops. Pulses be more like chickpeas, lentils, beans, those types. Going forward, however, even for the latter, cereals and pulses, significant levels are found in sub-Saharan Africa and Eastern and Southeastern Asia, where they are limited in Central and Southern Asia. The estimates from the UN Environment's Food Waste Index suggest that around 931 million tons of food, or 17% of total food available to consumers in 2019 went into the waste bins of households, retailers, restaurants, and other food services. According to a report from Feedback EU, the European Union wastes 153 million tons of food each year, around double previous estimates. What do you think about today's discussion? Is this of any interest to anyone other than me? Does anyone out there grow food? I know you understand how sad it is to spend all that time growing the food only to have something happen to it, or you otherwise kind of miss the moment and don't get full advantage of the harvest. Love to hear from you. As we continue this dialogue, this discussion, back to my notes, let's next talk about organic certification. And I don't have the website. I do have all these documents set up on the side. Organic certification allows a farm or processing facility to sell, label, and represent their products as organic. In other words, we verify that your farm or handling facility complies with the Organic Livestock and Crops Owners Association Nigeria organic regulations. Once you are certified, you can sell, label, and represent your products as organic. These regulations describe the specific standards required for you to use the word organic, or the Organic Livestock and Crop Owners Association Nigeria's organic seal on food, feed, or fiber products. The organic brand provides consumers with more choices in the marketplace. Very, very important. And here, let me just look up a link to this organization that they were referring to and where we is. Oh boy, I got a lot of stuff open over here. 1 second. This is worth getting. The Organic Livestock and Crop Owners Association of Nigeria is an organization dedicated to promoting sustainable organic farming practices in Nigeria. The association has developed a farming system that integrates principles of sustainability and productivity, aiming to reduce the environmental impact of agriculture while maintaining high yields. The OLCOAN emphasizes the importance of organic farming methods which avoid the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, genetically modified organisms, GMOs, antibiotics, and growth hormones. Organic farming is not just about the absence of these substances. It also involves practices that enhance soil health, biodiversity, and the overall ecosystem. For instance, organic crops use 35% less energy per unit of production compared to conventional methods, and organic dairying uses 74% less energy. The association has been actively involved. Here, 1 second. I'm saving this to my hard drive. This is very important information. Growing Nigeria. The association has been actively involved in regulatory discussions such as meetings with the Veterinary Medicines Directorate in the UK to ensure that organic standards are upheld and that the regulatory landscape supports sustainable agriculture. The Organic Livestock and Crop Owners Association Nigeria also maintains a picture gallery that showcases the achievements and activities of the association, providing visual evidence of their commitment to organic farming. Reviews and ratings for OCOAN highlight the organization's dedication to environmental sustainability and the promotion of organic practices. Pros include the association's strong advocacy for organic farming, its educational initiatives, and its efforts to support local farmers. Cons, mentioned by some reviewers, include the challenges of transitioning to organic methods and the high costs associated with organic production. Overall, the Organic Livestock and Crops Owners Association Nigeria is highly regarded for its contributions to sustainable agriculture in Nigeria. That one's a good one to have access to. Going forward, once you are certified, you can sell and represent your products as organic. These regulations describe the specific standards required for you to use the word organic or the Organic Livestock Croppers Owners Association organic seal. Any organic operation violating the old Organic Livestock and Crop Owners Association of Nigeria organic regulations faces enforcement actions, which can include financial penalties or suspension, revocation of their organic certificate. What can be certified? Olean organization regulations recognize 4 categories of organic products. 1. Crops, a plant that is grown to be harvested as food, livestock feed, fiber, or used to add nutrients to the field. Point 2, livestock, animals that can be used for food in the production of food, fiber, or feed. Number 3, processed products, items that have been handled and packaged. For example, chopped carrots or combined, processed and packaged. Example given, soup. And wild crops, plants from a growing site that is not cultivated. And then it goes on to talk about benefits of organic certification. This is very, very important for me. I'm going to go ahead and skip over this section, and because this is like a whole chapter of the book. And there is this research article that I have. Let me share the link to it in case those of you who want to know about it. This article is called The Drivers and Constraints of the Adoption of Organic Leafy Vegetable Production in Nigeria. And let me copy this whole thing to my Facebook page. Copy this one to my Facebook page, because this is a very important, and I have saved all of these documents to my hard drive already, so we will have access to them. And he said, do you feel PPP would be better than sharecropping? Anything's better than sharecropping. My father grew up in a sharecropping family in North Carolina. He went away to the military, and when he came back, he went to Bluefield State University, a historical black college in Bluefield, West Virginia, and became a chemist. So his family was trapped in poverty in sharecropping. So public-private partnership, undeniably, anything that resembles cooperation. Anything. Yes. That's an easy answer. Good question. Anything is better than sharecropping. And sharecropping is still going on. Sharecropping grows up in an environment where access to farm loan capital doesn't exist or is very limited. So what you're referring to as sharecropping has its own African continental version, which is very, very common, that many people engage in agriculture just to eat, to live. If they can get a new pair of shoes every now and then or some new clothes, many times they have their children's school fees that have to come out of their farm labor. I have been there and seen it up close and personal in Uganda, where we toured facilities owned by one of our, at the time, business partners, with the intention of putting in crops. That's the beginning of the African future. The book that just came out actually began emerging out of the book, The Blackest Soil, Africa Can Feed the World, which had a number of tactical, strategic engagements in it, some of which we launched, and were not nearly as successful as we had envisioned. We've come a long way, but we have still got so much further to go, which is why I'm writing this book, which is why I am doing the best I can to let our collaborative partners or potential collaborative partners in Nigeria, let them know who we are and what we intend to do. Let me do this real quickly and share with our international partners what we are about and the picture show because we have a meeting this afternoon, and I want them to know I have been busy. No doubt. 1 second excuse me, while I kiss the sky. Not this guy, the sky. Jimi Hendrix, I'm quoting. Purple haze, all in my brain. Here we go. 1 second, almost there. All right. Continuing where we were talking about, we got through harvest losses, organic certification. We spent quite a bit of time on that. Next, I'm reading from this article. This article appears in the journal MDPI Journals, is entitled Drivers and Constraints to the Adoption of Organic Leafy Vegetable Production in Nigeria, a Livelihood Approach, by Jelili Adegboyega Adebiya et al. Abstract. Nigeria, the seventh most populous country in the world, is plagued by livelihood challenges such as poverty and food insecurity, which are more pervasive among farming households and rural communities. Organic farming is being promoted by some domestic non-governmental organizations as a means of addressing the problem of poverty and food insecurity among farming households and rural communities in the country. Promoters consider organic farming to be well suited to smallholder farmers' socio-economic conditions in Nigeria, and that it can help improve their livelihood conditions through increased agricultural productivity and farm income. However, the adoption of the technology by smallholder farmers has been underwhelming for reasons yet to be studied. Using a livelihood framework and through a case study of farmers in Ibadan, Oyo State, this study qualitatively explores and provides insights into the factors that influence, constrain, and gender the adoption of organic farming in Nigeria. It was found that a mix of factors, which include institutional considerations, farmers' livelihood assets, and vulnerable contexts, their livelihood activities, and gender-related variables shaped adoption decision making. The policy implications of the findings were outlined, and keywords of this study include organic farming, adoption, non-adoption, livelihood framework, Africa, Nigeria, qualitative. So then it goes on, and this is rather extensive. Let me just share just a few lines of this body of this extensive document. It was many, many pages long. I saved the entire thing to my hard drive as a PDF. Just a few lines. In sub-Saharan Africa, SSA, smallholder-based agriculture is the main source of livelihood, especially in the rural areas where most of the population live. Livelihood challenges such as poverty and hunger are prevalent among farming and rural households in the region, and they are largely attributed to low agricultural productivity. Some local non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and international development agencies are promoting organic farming as a pro-poor strategy for improving agricultural productivity and the livelihood conditions of rural and farming households on the subcontinent. They argue that organic farming management practices can help address poor soil fertility and severely degraded soils, two major underlying factors for low agricultural productivity in sub-Saharan Africa. They also contend that organic farming can open financially rewarding differentiated domestic and international markets, with livelihood enhancing opportunities for African smallholder farmers. For excluding the use of synthetic inputs, advocates characterize organic farming as a labor-intensive, low-cost, and low-input technology and claim that it is well suited to the socio-economic conditions of smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. As a result, they expect the widespread adoption of the technology by smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. However, and this is very important, however, apart from Uganda, Tanzania, and Tunisia, the adoption of organic farming in Africa has been generally low, for reasons yet to be well investigated. While Tunisia's organic farming success story is state-driven, Uganda and Tanzania's are driven by strong local organic farming non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and support from international development agencies such as the Export Promotion of Organic Products from Africa, EPOPA. Other factors that explain the status of organic farming in the three countries include the creation of domestic organic farming certification bodies, as well as locally adapted and internationally created organic farming regulatory frameworks standards. Organic farm export market linkage, and growing domestic markets for organic farming. And there was some very important information in there, including EPOPA, Export Promotion of Organic Products from Africa. It's the first time I've heard about that. And undeniably, that sounds like an important group for me to include in the book. Export and Promotion of Organic Products from Africa, EPOPA. So I find the site. And numerous links to them. Which one do I use? Oh, it's being found by these different acronym finders. EPOPA is a program. What? I cannot find what you're looking for. Well, then look elsewhere. EPOPA, development through organic trade. Very important. Let me just copy and save this one to my hard drive. And almost finished. I'm not going to stay on too long today. EPOPA. And boy, this book is rapidly shaping up. It's going to be rather sizable. What I am going to do here before I leave the broadcast, first of all, is make sure anybody trying to talk to me gets through. Ed, I have you in the house. Nobody else is talking to me other than you, so enough respect to you, Brother Ed, for being on your brother's team. I do want to share a banner here so that you, the listening audience, so that you can participate. I put up my Cash app, which is $KEIDIOB, KEIDIOBI. If you want to make a contribution to help us deal with these tremendous expenses of everything we do, I have to have numerous software programs writing the books. I have to have a set of software programs doing the artwork for the books. The broadcast requires several streaming sites, the web server. It's not easy, people. And as you can tell, I'm still kind of recovering from these late nights of getting 2 new books this week. 2 books this week to the publisher. And now they are out. I put together a 5-book bundle. Let me share that with you as I go to wrap it up here for today. Let me just do a little bit of marketing, which marketing is not necessarily something I enjoy doing. A 5-book bundle for 2025. Now, for all of you who listen to the show, many of you have and continue to contribute to the integrity and the cost of putting this together. But if you haven't, if you've never read any of my now 57 books, here's a chance to get the 5 newest ones that have been out just since December. That's how current and contemporary they are. You had a chance to get 5 of them in one book bundle at a 25% discount. I celebrate 5 new books in the past 3 months. These cover topics such as disease prevention, nutrition solutions versus pharmaceutical medications, how the world has now proceeded into World Wars 5 and 6, and what we can do about it, the future of regenerative medicine and our natural control over it, a book on moving from Africa Rising to the African future, and how the Afro-futurist visions of the Black Panthers' Wakanda can become very real if we apply quantum sciences to our unifying mission. So that's the 5-book collection. The titles: number 1, Living Superfood Solutions, Dietary Strategies to Prevent and Reverse Common Chronic Diseases. Second of this list, these all came out in order: Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6, The Untold Story of How the Global Economic and Security Order is Shaping Up for the 21st Century. I wrote who, but I meant how. H-O-W, not W-H-O. Third book in the package, The Stem Cell Revolution, a holistic approach to stem cell activation and regenerative medicine. Fourth book in the package, The African Future, empowering a united and prosperous Africa for future generations. And the 5th book just added, Quantum Advancement, spectacular discoveries along the magnificent journey. And yeah, in quantum advancement, we go deep, intergalactic deep. meta universe deep, and beyond the boundaries of time, space, and personality, including anti-gravity flying machine technology, including two chapters, one exposing scientific fraud, but another chapter on the search for 0 point energy generation, or 0 point energy physics, and why a search for a perpetual motion machine is, at our current understanding of physics, is impossible. These books challenge conventionality. They challenge mediocrity. Sometimes they challenge sacred cows. I'm not afraid to buck the trend and say to everybody, no, no, no. We got that wrong. Our team members, as much as we love our team, we got that wrong. Such as the case of Maxwell Chikumbutso, the Zimbabwean inventor of micro power generation. That is the chapter on fraud and scam. I can't be 100% sure, but I am 99% sure it's a fraud and a scam, because I've been around science my entire life, and many of the things he's talking about, he's not a trained scientist. He openly admits that. But even I'm not formally educated scientist, even though with 57 books out now, I'd say I've definitely self-taught. But we got to get up to par and stop going for the okie doke. Malcolm X said, you've been had. You've been misled. You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked. And that happens again and again to a people who maintain such a high level of scientific illiteracy. For which our anointed leaders do not take responsibility for removing that pebble from our eye. I'm using something got in your eye. That's a grain of sand or whatever. You got to remove it. Otherwise, you're crippling for something seemingly very tiny but very disruptive. There is much that we can do. We've got to do a lot better than what we have been doing. Celebrate these 5 books. So these books give us a chance now to be change agents. That's why I write. That's why I write and I write. And we should be change agents. If you believe in this mission, if you believe that we can accomplish what we will, if you believe that as a people we deserve success, we deserve to grow, that we deserve to be fulfilled in our great mission towards sovereign, sustainable development, I'm going to ask you to get the 5-book bundle. I'm going to ask you to help your brother out. We a long way. And yet we've got so far to go. Let's take the time, people, and let's make a major difference in the world. Can we do it? I'm absolutely convinced, yes, it can be done. But at the same time, I wrote the book, Fade to Black, The Passing of a Great Race. I wrote that book to indicate the trends are really bad. The momentum of the direction we're headed is very strong, and that is not a good direction. Now, we're going to have to make some serious decisions, people. And making serious decisions is better when we are well informed with the most current, insightful data, analysis, and information. You don't want to lose. You don't consider yourself to be a loser, and I don't consider you to be a loser. But we are on a team. If we consider ourselves to be team players, we are on a team. We belong to a group. And each member of the group should enjoy the benefits of the group, the successes to the group, the wealth and prosperity of the group. Now, if you belong to a group that is sapping away your wealth and your prosperity, then that's not a group for you. Many of these people who voted for the return of MAGA, many of them are now just realizing what it is that they selected. See, MAGA gave you 2, 3 talking points that sounded good on the surface, but now the reality is hitting. International trade wars only further isolate the American hegemonic economic engine. And from that position of isolation, people don't want to trade. Nations don't want to trade amongst each other using the dollar, not when Uncle Sam is so doggone nasty. So I'm not here today to talk about MAGA. I am here to talk about Pan-Africanism, the African Continental Free Trade Area. Today, I am here to talk about growing Nigeria, 15 keys to future sovereign agricultural development. 15 keys and so many detailed points underneath. We talked about organics. We talk about export economy, domestic production, agroeconomics. We've come a long way, but oh yes, we have got so much further to go. The good news is momentum is there to say that by 2050, what we are witnessing will undeniably be an incredible powerhouse for which our children and future generations can live within these multiple overlapping powerhouses, which all indicate the collective potential of Pan-African unity. So we have great reason to be excited, people. Undeniably so. Bear with me here while I cue up the music for getting out of today's program. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Tell your friends to tell their friends that we have our own now. And we're proud of who we are. Proud of what we got. Proud to be hanging out with good people, good company, doing great things in a wonderful world. That's the benefit of being with you on your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Peace, y'all. Be talking again tomorrow. Thursday will be Tech and Future Talk. You know how we do what we do.